All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Monday. The first real Monday of the year. Welcome back, welcome back. How we doing? How was everyone's weekend? Morning. Ace Ziggy, Ace Boogie. We got two Ace Boogie, Ace Ziggy. Margin, what's up? Closer, what's up, guys? Rob, Chef, how you doing? Lawrence, Fitness TV, Turglass, as we like to say. Anna, Black Coffee Trader. What's going on, guys? How's it going, everyone? Sonia? $2026. CES is this week? Okay. Morning, everyone. Hot start. Couldn't get those words out. Hot start here this morning. Hot start. Semis. Hot. Pullback level that we went to on Friday. Very nice. So some good looks. We got this interesting wedge forming on the market. We got a lot of things to review today. Some nice setups. Some interesting ideas. So it looks like at least if we continue to see what we saw Friday, Friday was a nice price action day. So hopefully more of that. ASML, absolutely insane. Yeah. Margin nuts, man, huh? Right off our 1060. Crazy. Raise the volume. This is about as high as it goes, man. It doesn't go any higher than this. So show you. You're going to see me. You're going to see a bunch of me right now. So just, make sure you like looking at me. Right here. See this right down here? It's all the way up. And if it goes into the red, it starts to clip. So can't get that into the red there. But you can see every time I talk, that goes into the yellow. So it's definitely plenty loud. Just got to raise the volume. Raise it up. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Monday. Let's start the week strong. Attendance link missing. Yeah, attendance link is not there until I figure out our merch situation, which I'm working with Marvin on. So we'll get that soon. It's the TBD. Work in progress. Under construction. All right. So let's get started. Monday, January 5th. Right now, the first things on my mind this morning, number one, semis are strong. Number two, thanks for asking, Spoonie. I appreciate that, man. How was my birthday? Thank you for asking, Spoonie. It was good. Was with the family in New York. Good time. Nice, relaxing. It was freezing out, but nice to get away from the heat sometimes from Florida. So it was nice. I enjoyed it. Everyone was like, what are you doing standing outside? I'm like, man, I miss this. Everyone that lived there is like, get inside, it's freezing out. And I'm like, I'll just stand out here all day. Sometimes I'm like, like those videos of the dogs, like the huskies that are just sitting outside. That's me. Just like enjoying the change from the humidity is sometimes quite nice. Feels like you have like fresh air that you're breathing rather than wet air. But appreciate that. Thanks for asking, Spoonie. It was good. So this morning, some of the things that are on my mind. Number one, semis are strong. Number two, a little bit of crypto juice, right? We got a little bit of crypto juice. We got a little semiconductor juice. So those are the two tech names or high risk or risk on type of environments that I'm watching. Then there's more, right? There's what does oil do today with the whole situation in Venezuela, right? Does oil go up? Does it go down? Right now, the early signs are oil and oil names like CVX, XOM are higher this morning. Not really a trade that I'm going to run to because I'm not going to be, I've always said, if you guys are longtime listeners, oil, you really need to understand the macroeconomics behind it. You really need to understand the economics behind the move. And I'm not going to pretend to be an oil expert. If I was to be frank, right, I already have it wrong because my assumption was that oil would be down because if we think that the U.S. is going to tap into that Venezuela oil reserve, then I would assume that prices would come down. But I'm already wrong because things are up. So I'm not going to be pretending to be an oil trader this week. I know a lot of people are going to be watching it. It'll be interesting to watch, but it won't be somewhere I put risk on. But it's something to pay attention to. /CL, oil futures, XOM, CVX, what do they do? Interesting thing to watch. And then also on top of that, I think we got to watch the metals again, right? Gold, silver, what are those up to start this week? So there's a lot of things to sort of pay attention to this week. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts. I'm going to stay focused on the semis. I'm going to stay focused on my crypto names, such as Hood, Circle, right? Coinbase. So that's going to be sort of where my mind is at more than anything. On top of that, you got the futures that we'll be watching as well. So some nice stuff and hopefully some good opportunities to start this year. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the economic calendar because I didn't even get to look at that yet this morning. Been doing some chart preps all morning. And so let's go ahead and look at this economic calendar together for the first time today. So here we go. Today, Monday, ISM manufacturing PMI, 10 o'clock. So there's your little 30-minute in data we can be paying attention to today, ISM manufacturing PMI. So let's be aware of that. Tomorrow, not much. Wednesday, ADP, JOLTS, 10 o'clock. Thursday, unemployment claims. And then Friday, average hourly earnings, non-farm unemployment rate, consumer sentiment, inflation expectations. So pretty status quo week in terms of economic data. Pretty much our normal, docket. Thursday, unemployment claims. Friday, consumer sentiment, et cetera, et cetera. So nice. Let's just pay attention today, 10 o'clock. That's what I would be paying attention to, okay? All right. Let's make good decisions. Yes, sir. It will take a long time to set up infrastructure. Yeah, I agree, Oliver. That's a good point. It's a good point. What's up, Tashambi? All right. So the first thing I want to point out today is one of the cleanest wedges that you have probably ever seen on the overall market here, and that is the NASDAQ futures. You have a perfect, and I mean perfect, like I'm not even messing around with these levels. Like I'm just clicking and dragging a wedge and it's lining up perfectly, which is pretty crazy. So if you click this high and then click this high and drag this over, it lines up absolutely perfect with the previous high right here. And then if you click this low and you click this low, it lines up perfect with the low that we had on Friday. So this is a pretty wild and perfect wedge forming on the market. Now, I do not want to say which direction this breaks because wedges are not really bullish or bearish. They're just sort of signaling that we are getting very tight, and I would assume that this is telling you that there will be a move on this market in the near future, right? I couldn't tell you if it is a break above the wedge and continuation or a break below the wedge and downside continuation. The only thing I can say is that if the semis continue to act the way they are, it would be pretty hard to believe that the market would go down. So that's something that I would be paying attention to. This wedge is very interesting on the NASDAQ futures. It's also on the QQQ. I think I still have it marked out. Yep, there's your QQQ. It's the same exact situation. And it would be hard for me to believe that you would get this breakdown if the semis continue to look the way they look. Which is breaking through all-time highs. So that's the first thing I want to point out to you. Massive wedge on the NASDAQ futures. And with the semiconductor strength, I am definitely leaning towards this being a breakout to the upside. But, hey, we got to stay open. The other thing that's really nice is you can see that daily 100 SMA, daily 100 SMA, and daily 100 SMA just sort of sitting here and holding this market higher. And the best example of a daily 100 SMA is TSM, right? TSM, daily 100, bam, bam, and TSM is on an absolute tear this morning. So some daily 100 SMAs coming in on this NASDAQ futures, some wedge lows coming in on this NASDAQ futures, and I am definitely intrigued by a move coming outside of this wedge in the near future. So that's one thing to pay attention to here on the NASDAQ, okay? But besides that, let's jump into some of our shorter term levels to be paying attention to. And the first one is very clearly the Monday lows on the NASDAQ futures. So if we zoom in onto this 30-minute chart, I want to be very apparent and very clear that these lows are still looming, right? So right here, see these lows from Monday? We have these Monday lows. We see this rejection here on Wednesday, and we are still trading south of that level. So that is also on top of that, that is the daily 20 and daily 50 SMA. So it is very clear right now that in the pre-market, you are moving higher, and you are just moving higher to make back this straight down move, right? That's basically all the NASDAQ is doing. It's just going to grind slowly higher, in my opinion, towards this level, because you're just sort of making back this vertical downside move, and that makes a lot of sense, right? We've seen that all the time. Straight down means we go back up. Straight up means we go back down, right? You just can't have straight up and straight down moves. So with this straight down move, likely comes the market trying to fill in that low volume straight down move. Now, that likely ends, or that likely gets challenged, right? This upside move gets challenged is the right word, at this Monday low at 25,650 today. So I would love 25,650 to be an upside target today, right? I like that for an upside target for the market to move higher into. But then when we get to that point, I am very cautious of what the reaction is going to be. Is it going to be a lower high and a rejection for more downside, right? Or is it going to be a reclaim ripper, right, for the market to stay very strong? If we reclaim this Monday low, if we reclaim the daily 50 and daily 20 SMA, then I would be very much believing in the move towards 25,800. So I think this is a great opportunity right here, above 650 into 800. That's a nice 150-point range on the NASDAQ futures to take advantage of. But I am definitely going to want to get some confirmation on a reclaim above 650 and on a reclaim above the daily 20, daily 50. So that's the first thing that I would definitely be watching here today. Now, excuse me, that was loud. Now, the most important thing to pay attention to this morning is the fact that we are on a gap up. All right, we are on a gap up. And what are the gap rules? Well, for me, the gap rules are that you probably want to see the gap get filled before you long the market. And where would a gap get filled for today? Well, I think you'd probably want at least, in my opinion, at least a pullback to the Wednesday lows, right? To the highs here from Thursday, to the highs here from this Tuesday, and to the lows here from this Friday a few weeks back. I really like this spot. 25,412, 25,430. I love this spot. This would really be a very nice pullback long if we can get that to develop. That would also create your little left shoulder, right? Your head and your right shoulder, inverse head and shoulder at these lows, which would be quite pretty as well. So I don't mind the market to see some pullback today back towards this low. I think that would be a very bullish thing to look for if we can get this little drip and then we can get that nice explosion move right back off that level. I like that a lot. That would come back down into the Wednesday's lows. That would come back down into this major retest spot from back here a few weeks back right there. I like that. Without that, you are sort of just longing a gap up right now because the close from Friday is right here, right? It's a perfect spot to get a gap close, right? Close the morning gap, fill that gap, see that level stay strong, and then look for the long opportunity. That's more interesting to me than just longing where we currently are into this supply level right here. I don't love that trade. So that trade's sort of over for me. You can see, late last night, you had a nice long right here on this reclaim of Wednesday's lows, and it provided some opportunity, right, overnight. But for now, for market open, I'm a little bit more interested in getting this market to pull back first and then longing versus just longing into this supply level. What do you think about a pop and fade into the 650 level? Yeah, I like the pop and fade into the 650 level a lot today. I do. I like it a lot. Now, of course, we got to watch price action. If semis are on an absolute heater this morning, then, we'll have to be careful. If this market just goes berserk because of some semiconductor action and it just sort of rips through this, then, hey, we're going to be leaving behind a massive gap, and we've seen that before, right? So we got to be aware of that. But I do like the idea of this fading if it overextends itself, and then maybe we get the gap fill, right? So a situation you could probably see today is maybe this overextends itself, fades this level, gap fills, and then returns to the upside. That's very possible, maybe providing two trading opportunities there. So either way, I like both of these levels. I really like both of these levels, actually. We just need to watch which one hits first, and we need to understand the context behind it. If this hits first, we could fade. If this hits first, we could long, right? So that's that. Yeah. I mean, pretty good plan, I'd say, in terms of the NASDAQ futures. I like both of those levels. Also, this 650 level, you can see it dates back quite a bit, right? Look at this. Lows, highs, highs, lows, lows, lows. So trading into that 650 level, definitely a little bit cautious for a rejection as it trades into these previous major rejection zones. And then right here is your support, right? So want to see it test one of those levels before getting active today, for sure. All right, let's go to the S&P 500 futures. Let's go to the S&P. So Key level for me today on the S&P 500 is 69.13. This is going to be a very key spot for me today. Do we hold it? Do we fail it? This is going to tell you the early morning move, in my opinion. 69.13 to around 69.11. This is a massive spot that I would be putting on your charts today. You have a Wednesday low, not a full low, but an intraday low here at 69.13. You have a perfect, and I mean perfect, 69.13 break and retest rejection from Friday. Now, this was the best trade of Friday by far. What a beautiful setup this was. So if you look at this 5-minute chart, you have Wednesday low here, right? And Wednesday rejection here. Very nice, 69.13. And take a look at what happened at that level on Friday. 69.13, 69.13. Look at the perfect break, retest, rejection that happened on the market there on Friday off of this 69.13 level. So really nice spot there. What else is there? The daily 20 SMA. It's just sitting right there as well. So you can see that that level, right, sort of failed the market all of the overnight session, and eventually we have held back above it. Now you can see we're not that far above it this morning. We're sort of just sitting right above it. So the key for me this morning would be, does this hold, right, or does this fail? If you fail back under this and turn this back into a rejection, that would give me the confidence that you might see this market gap fill back to 68.90, back down to this Wednesday low, back down to the close from the close is like a little bit right around here, the close of Friday, but I think anywhere between maybe that Friday close and then that low at 68.90 would sort of be that spot that you could pull back down to. If you reject back under 69.13, you might get that gap fill back to that 68.90 area. If you hold 69.13 and you turn that into a new support and a higher low, that would give me the interest for upside towards the Friday high at 69.40, 69.36. So for me, this is a pretty damn important spot this morning on the S&P. Does it hold the daily 20? Do we fail below it? That's very important to me. That's super, super important. If we zoom out, we can see this is not just short-term levels, right? Look at the hourly chart here on the S&P. Look at this low from Tuesday of last week or 2 weeks ago, right? Look at that 69.13. And look at these highs at 69.13. So, and look at it right there, right? Really important spot. Do you fail back under it? If you do, I think you will move lower, back down to this 68.90. ESPN sending me alerts. If you hold 69.13, then I think you could see maybe the 69.40. So, big spot. And you're going to see it probably probably played around with today. It's going to be a lot of games, I'd assume, at the 69.13 spot. I would definitely be paying attention to what that does, okay? All right. So that is really the key level for me. I do love how the S&P 500 on the bigger picture, if we sort of, let's go ahead and take a look at like the bigger picture here. I do like how the S&P, looking at this bigger picture right here, I love the opportunity to the upside still, right? As long as it's over these highs. If you look at this right here, major high, right? Major high, highs, major high. You guys should remember this level, the 68.70, right? Look at all this action at 68.70 in the past. Look at this. This is really what I'm watching more than anything. These major highs from October. See that? Look at where you held right there, 68.70. So I quite like the little breakout off the 68.70 level. I like the idea. I love the idea, actually. But we also need to pay attention to short-term stuff. And so for now, I'd really like to see maybe this higher low 69.13 or this pullback to 68.90 today. This is a massive demand down here, but we'll see if we get that, if we test that, but we'll see. Okay, let's go to the SPY. So the SPY, another very important spot to be watching this morning. 684, 683.81. let's go to the 15-minute chart. You can see the SPY right here, right? Same spot, 684. You have the rejection from Friday. You have the lows here from Wednesday. You have the daily 20 SMA right here. If you fail back under that, I think it's very possible to get the gap close, right? And the gap would close at previous day close, which is 683.17. So again, we have seen like 95% of the time, I don't know what the exact percent is, but it's a very high percent of the time, morning gap ups get filled. And the gap rules would say we need to wait for the gap to get filled before we look for upside. So I think you're possibly starting to see that right now as we speak, right? If we break under that daily 20 again, we're probably going to trade to fill this gap at 683.17. That's probably a very high possibility. Now, once that gap gets filled, you know, what happens? That's something we can pay attention to today. Major demand is here at 681.70 to 680, right? This is a major demand spot on the SPY. Let me go ahead and zoom out and show you. So if we zoom out on the 4-hour chart here, we can see we have some major previous holds in this area, right between the 680 and 681 area. If you break 680, that could be a little bit of a downside sign from, you know, a sign for more downside, but that for now is holding. Upside supply, very clear in between this 686, 687 zone. We can look at this 15-minute chart. Take a look at this right here. Lows, lows, highs, highs, and absolutely going to be a tough spot to be long. So again, I like the market to gap fill first, right? I like that idea. I want to see the market fill the gap. I don't want to long a gap up. It's never quite very, you know, it never seems to be the best trade. Would love to see the market gap fill. Would love to see the SPY possibly come down to that 683.17, but we'll have to watch also this daily 2684. So in between here, let's look for pullbacks. That's also the S&P 500, 69.13, which is getting tested as we speak. So this is going to be a big spot to watch here today. Let's jump over to the QQQ, and the QQQ is rejecting the exact supply level that it should reject, really. I mean, this is where the QQQ should reject. Right here on the QQQ, you can see major highs, major lows, major lows, major lows, and rejection highs, and look at where the QQQ is trading right now. So this is a very possible failure point on the QQQ. We are right into the daily 20. We are right into the lows from here on Tuesday of a few weeks back. That's 617 to 618. It's not going to be easy. All right, we can already see it's not going to be easy as we're starting to get some failures right in that spot as we speak. Now, if we do get that spot, right, and we do see rejections here, I love the idea, once again, for the Qs to gap fill, right? The gap fill is right here at 613. Fill in this straight up move in the pre-market. Fill in this overnight gap up, right? Give us this move lower to fill that gap back to 613. I love that idea. I think that's a great watch. And that would, again, in my opinion, then start... That would only then start the long idea, right? So I would only look, if you're looking short today, I would look to short potentially for the gap fill. But then once the gap is filled, I would then back off of that short idea because then you are back to major demand lows, right? So to long today, you really want us to go lower to fill the gap first, right? That's sort of what I would want to see first. I would look for this Wednesday low. I would look for these previous 613 highs, 613 lows, 613 highs, and a nice demand area down here at 613, 610. So let's see if we get that gap fill. I don't love where we're sitting right now to just be long off the open, that's for sure. If you're going to be long before the gap fill today, then it's got to be a reclaim of this 618.73. That's really the only spot. If you're going to be long before a move lower today, then it's got to be a long over this Monday low and over this daily 20, which would look something like this, right? Something along the lines of this would have to be what you're looking at. Without that, you are longing right into these previous rejection points, which is just not very nice. So for me, a little bit on the downside to start the day, unless this market just rips over this daily 20, which is very possible. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult if that happens because at that point, you're longing a gap up, right? So Let's see if we get that 613 spot, man. That really is what I'd love to see. All right. So that's the game plan across the board on the overall market. If you guys could, please press that like button. We got 2,100 people here. If you guys could help me out, keep the likes going for 2026. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Giants on alert. Yeah, the Giants. Who the hell knows, man? The good old Giants, man. They won their last few games, and now I think they're 5th pick. Would have been nice to get first, but who the hell knows? Who that probably wouldn't have changed anything for the Giants. All right. So let's jump into the SMH. So the SMH, an absolute ripper this morning. TSM leading the charge, MU leading the charge, ASML leading the charge, AMD has some life again. So obviously semis are juiced up this morning. Now, where did this whole move start? Well, if you guys remember our analysis, it was from our video on Sunday of 2 weeks ago. It was about the market, and it was the market levels, and it was about the SMH 360. So if you guys watched that level, or if you guys watched that video, then you probably recall this 360 level on the SMH. You probably recall the 360 spot and the daily 20 SMA. And boy, oh boy, was that the breakout, right? Take a look at this little situation here off the daily 20, downtrending move here. Nice breakout, and what a continuation that was. So SMH perfect off the daily 20 SMA. I mean, that is just absolutely gorgeous. However, now this is pretty extended, right? And where would we want to see some retracements to? Well, the first one I'd like to look for is some of these previous highs. Previous highs here, previous highs here. Somewhere between this zone of 372, 375, I think is the first spot you would like to see at least the SMH come back down to. That's the first spot. The second spot is below towards 366, 367, right? That really is the best spot in my opinion. 366, 367, that's really the number one spot for me, right here. That's A+. Number one A+ for SMH would be a pullback to these highs right here. Do we get that? I don't know. If the semis just are rocketing, probably not. That would be around a 61.8% retracement. I don't know, right? I don't know if you're going to get that much weakness, but that really would be a great spot to look for. But for now, if this thing stays strong, 372.78 is previous all-time high, and that's probably a great spot to look for that pullback long today. I would be looking for that today. All right. So with that said, let's go into the IWM. IWM holding these demand lows, right? Not bad, holding demand lows, but still under these rejection highs at 250. So right now, just sort of stuck in the channel. I would put an alert over 250. I would put an alert under 245, and I would just wait, right, and see if one of those get hit. Let's go over to gold. So gold, interesting, popping higher this morning. However, still rejecting this high. So that really is the massive high to pay attention to on gold, right? This high right here, 44.34, which is these triple top highs on the daily chart, that really continues to be the must-watch spot. And you can see this morning, that's failing again at 44.34. So I'm a little bit cautious on that gold move, right? You can see it's failing that 44.34. You can see it's failing this major triple top high again. So that really is a must-watch here on the gold side today. If that fails again, and you fail back under like that 44.09 spot, you might be looking at the gold to stay weak again here. We'll see. We'll see. This is very important. Or this holds 44.09, gets back above 34, and this thing just absolutely rips. So this is a massive spot for gold, right between this 09 and 34 spot for me. Silver pushed higher into 76. You can see right here, 76, 76, 76, 76, rejecting 76. However, this is a great pullback on silver, in my opinion, back to this 73. If we can get a little retracement back to this 73, maybe a little something like this, right? I think that sets up your higher low, higher low, higher low, your uptrending move. I think that's still very bullish on silver. But clearly the level to break for a true breakout is 76. That is very clearly the high to be watching. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into some equities. If you guys could, please press that like button. Help me get to 1,000 likes today. Tesla. So, actually, no, we got to go to crypto. Let's go to crypto real quick. IBIT. All right, so IBIT has finally gotten above our 5140 spot. It's been a while since we got a break above this. You can see rejections, rejections, rejections. We finally got above it, right? So, pullback, gap fill, long, definitely in mind, right? 5139, gap fill, retest of the triple top highs, something along the lines of this. That would really be a nice spot to watch. So I'd love to see crypto fade a little bit today, back to 5139 on IBIT, and then set up that nice long up towards the 53, 54 area. That's something I would definitely be on the lookout for today. Last thing I want to point out on crypto is just want to show you guys the weekly chart, right? That's all. I just want to show you guys the weekly chart, and I just want to pop this idea into your head. Last time Bitcoin was in this area, it went like this, and you can see it's doing pretty much the exact same thing, and the question is it going to do this again? I mean, I wouldn't bet against it, personally. You see a weekly previous high, you see weekly lows, you see the same low again setting up here. This was 6 weeks of consolidation, and right now, funny enough, it has been 6 weeks of consolidation. So you got 6 weeks of consolidation here, you've had 6 weeks of consolidation here. Do we get this? Do we get this? I mean, the first signs of today looks like something's sparking. But, you know, of course, crypto is a very volatile asset. So always be careful there. But overall, I can't say I'd bet against this look. So interesting stuff over there on the crypto. Is that an opportunity? Probably. All right. Tesla. So Tesla's been relatively weak lately. I would not look to long Tesla unless you make a higher low, which you have not done. So I would be very careful just going out there and chasing Tesla today. You need to get above this 450 low right here. You can't do anything if you're still under that, right? Can't do it. It's still very clearly in a lower high, or lower low, lower high situation, right? You have here's your channel. Here's your channel, right? So this is lower high, lower low. This is still bearish structure, right? It really is. So what do you need to do to have a long idea on Tesla? Well, you need to flip back into a bullish structure. And what would help Tesla get back into bullish structure? It would be a reclaim and a hold back over 450, right? That would be the only trade. So that is definitely something I'm watching. I'm going to be watching Tesla back over 450. That is a must reclaim level. If not, then what are you doing? Well, you could just create another lower high, right? Here's a low, lower high, lower low, right? And just continue this bearish structure. Bearish here, and here, and here, right? So there's nothing saying that Tesla's really making an important move this morning. The only important move that would occur here is a reclaim back over 450. So that's something I would be watching today. Without that, you're not doing anything that important, okay? Let's go into the semiconductors because this is really where the juice is today. The juice is loose. NVIDIA. So we've been waiting patiently for a clean pullback on NVIDIA, and we've gotten a nice consolidation. We didn't quite get our 184.50 level, which I really wanted to get. I really would have loved to see us come back down and test that 184.50 spot, but you can see this daily 50 has been a monster for NVIDIA. I mean, every pullback to the daily 50 just holding. So really nice consolidation, nice curl on NVIDIA here. And with the semiconductor strength, I'm definitely intrigued. Over 191, I think you can definitely see a push towards 197. I think that's very possible. We just need to see a day hold above 191. And to start this morning, this is pretty convincing as of now. Now, here's the hard part, right? NVIDIA looks great over 191. But our market thesis is that we might need to get a gap fill before the long, right? So what could happen here is NVIDIA sort of traps over 191, market gap fills, and then gets back over it. That's very possible, okay? So a little bit careful on the morning long off NVIDIA. I don't love longing in the morning this morning with the QQQ into the supply, But, we'll have to pay attention to see what goes on. Now, something you could build a thesis on is, well, if 69.13 holds, then maybe I can long early morning. And you can see right now, well, there's 69.13 for you. So you can clearly see how important this level is. There it is again. So that is definitely something to be watching. NVIDIA 191, definitely a good spot. If you hold that spot, I don't mind getting a little bit aggressive on it. You're just going to have to understand that it's going to be a little bit risky off the morning open. But 191, nice spot. This is more interesting to me, actually. AMD breaking out of its massive consolidation range. If you guys recall, we've been talking about that daily 20 SMA on AMD. We've been waiting for us to get over 226, and guess what? We're over 226. Now, unfortunately, you are on a pretty big move, but I would like to just see a nice slow pullback and hold at 226 today. That would be such a perfect pullback long to look for today. 226, set your alert. Let's see if AMD can pull back for us. That would be pretty special. A pullback and a hold at 226 would be an awesome spot to be looking for today. Definitely something to pay attention to. TSM on an absolute rip. This trade is gone. Yeah. Shout out Willie from the mentorship. I don't know if you're listening, Willie. Congratulations, man. I know you're in this trade and probably going to look pretty good this morning. That trade entry for Willie was on a hold over 314, and it's an absolute perfect trade idea. 314 was previous all-time highs right here. All right, see that 314 previous all-time high? Take a look at this, guys. This is some witchcraft for you. You want to see witchcraft? Here's witchcraft. See 314 right here? See that all-time high? Take a look at the 1 minute chart on Friday. Here's your 1 minute chart on Friday. Look at this 313.98, 314 spot. Right here, perfect. Right here, perfect. I mean, that's about as perfect as it gets, right over that previous all-time high. That's about as perfect as it gets, right off 314. So that is awesome. That is perfect. And you can see how that hold above previous all-time high on Friday has set up a massive move. So, unfortunately, this trade is over. For those that are not in it already, you can't just now chase TSM. I'd say the only spot you can now look for TSM is a pullback to the Friday highs. That's really it. If we can get a pullback to the Friday highs, maybe we can look for a long back here at 321, right? For a pullback long off 321. If it's not there, then it's 314. Okay? All right. TSM, congratulations, my friends, whoever's in that. Let's go to Broadcom. Broadcom on a nice little push this morning, again, off the 100 SMA, the same spot we've been watching week over week. This has been the exact same area. Here's your previous highs. This is the same analysis every day. And once again, we hold the daily 100. We've talked about Broadcom on a daily basis, and we've just said, hey, we need to get over 355. But this consolidation is pretty much A+ to me. I mean, this is some A+ bullish consolidation. And if the semi stays strong, I don't see why this does not try for that 355 break. So definitely eyes on Broadcom again. That's a big spot. There's endless semiconductors. ASML is too far gone to even be interested, but my God, what a push off 1060. The only pullback long now is 1140, 1135 right here. That's the only entry point. It was 1060 straight up, so really not much there. MRVL, yeah, nice push higher. 93 is a big spot. Really the one that I'm most interested in today, and I think one that I'm going to purchase some shares on today, guys, is ARM. ARM has had a very, very large pullback, about 40% off the highs, into a major weekly zone here. Really, it's this entire zone between 90 and 100. Big low, massive low, and here we are again. So looking at this chart over the last year and a half, every single time you've come down into this 90-100 spot, it's been a pretty nice opportunity. And so I am very intrigued by this pullback on ARM. We have finally seen some really nice volume come into this name to the upside. And you can see this low volume here as we moved lower. In my opinion, showing that sellers are sort of getting exhausted. And now we can see a breakout move with volume. I really like this. So definitely more of a share purchase for me. Nothing with the options unless it's long dated. I really quite like this. Buying maybe, 50 to 100 shares here for a long-term idea. I don't mind this entry point. Definitely something I would be paying attention to on ARM. Yeah, MU is just too far gone. Great move, but it's gone. Something you gotta accept, man. Like, we talked about MU holding these highs, it did it right there. We talked about MU holding these highs, it did it right there. We talked about looking for MU over these highs, it did it right here. So at this point, you can't look at this and say, oh man, now I'm just going to long MU. Why didn't you long it here? Why didn't you long it here? Why didn't you long it here? Right? You got to ask yourself that, and you gotta be honest with yourself. So it's gone, right? There's no one's making money chasing a gap up like this on MU. Who's making money? The traders that were confident on the retest here, all right? Who's making money on MU? The traders that were confident longing on the retest or the hold above these highs. Those are the people making money here, not the ones that wake up Monday morning with their eyes popping out of their sockets saying, I'm long MU on a $8 gap up. So, I mean, maybe you do make some, but long term you're not going to. So it's gone, right? Unfortunately, it's gone. That's just what we have to understand, and now we need to wait for pullbacks again, right? We need to wait for a pullback here on TSM. We need to wait for a pullback here on MU, the same way it's done it every time, right? The same way it's done it every time. MU has had plenty of situations where we wake up and say, holy shit, this stock's gone, and then look what it does, right? Here's a great situation for you right here. Here's a great situation. See this on MU? Holy shit, MU's going straight up. I have to chase it. What does it do? It pulls back to the breakout point, and that's where you should be longing, right? And here we go again, right? Holy shit, MU straight up. Well, what's the next move? Probably this. And then you should be longing it, right? So that's the mindset that you need to keep in 2026. You cannot get googly-eyed over gap ups every day. It's just not going to be successful long term. All right, let's jump into some other names. Apple has been pretty much radio silent. Massive rejection off 277. I mean, massive rejection off 277 on Friday. So that's sort of strange. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's like some systematic selling on Friday off that supply. So pretty wild. I'm not really interested here. Amazon, not that interested, to be honest. A massive rejection at that high again. So, yeah, not that interesting there. Meta, rejection, just channeling, not that interested. The semis are so much more interesting than these names today. Let's go ahead and look at some crypto names. Coinbase, I would like to coin this term. It's the gap and trap. Here's another one, and I have seen it so many times. The gap trap is like, at least to the downside, the gap trap is happening over and over again. So what is the gap trap? Well, we had a gap below 231.50. We went down part of that move, right? We sort of saw a little bit of downside under 231.50, but look what happened, right? Eventually it gets back above it, and it traps everyone that's short looking for the gap fill. And the gap trap is possibly the most bullish thing that could have happened here, right? So you have so many traders that are probably shorting for the gap fill, which I would understand why. But once it reclaimed that level, like, all these people are just so trapped in this trade now. So the gap trap, something to really be cautious of in a bullish market. I've seen it, and I lost a lot of money doing this on Oracle, by the way. Oracle had a gap fill idea, and boy, did I get trapped on that idea as well in the past. So we had that big Oracle gap fill. Where was it? It was here. It was right here. It was on this day right here. Yep, I remember this. So look at this right here. You had a gap below right here on Oracle under 188.88. Right here on this day, you moved lower under that gap and you reclaimed it. And when you reclaim that, look at the result of that move, right? So it happens quite often. And so Coinbase is interesting now that it's done that. And with the crypto strength, I don't hate watching Coinbase for continuation. So, yeah, definitely something to be watching. 255 is a big supply above. Circle, watch that strength today. Watch CRWV strength today, over 80. Not a bad watch as well. Watch Hood, right? Hood strength with crypto. Hood is back at a major demand level right here. Hood had a little bit of a trap under that 112 spot. Major daily demand, 112. Not a bad daily candle there on Hood. if crypto stays strong, I do not hate Hood to stay strong as well off this major 112 demand low. So that's another one to be paying attention to. Yeah, we'll end it with Palantir here. Palantir trading back into a retest rejection spot. So you definitely need to see Palantir get back over this 177 spot. That's for sure. All right, look where Palantir is traded back into. Previous lows, into highs. We need to see that reclaim for sure. All right. Rock on. Yeah, I mean, man, guys, if you guys are part of any Discord, not just mine, you're going to get nonstop people messaging you on Discord. Please don't fall for those. It's a scam. It's not me. There's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. I wish I could, but I can't stop people from changing like a period or a capital letter in my username. So you need to be paying very close attention to who's messaging you. Just think logically, please. I'm not messaging people on Discord, okay? Just know that. Like, just know that about me. I do not message anyone on Discord. The only people I message on Discord is for maybe business purposes, like Marvin for T-shirts or Amped for some, stuff that I do with him in terms of, like, website design. That's it, all right? So I'm not messaging you saying, hey, how's it going, man? And then just... how's your trading, right? It's not me, all right? So please don't respond to those messages. If you need to get into the live trading, you need to go to your WAP dashboard. If you can't figure it out, make sure to shoot an email over to us. You can shoot an email to us, Vincent at options-insider.com. You can help you try to figure it out. But yeah, not me. I'm not spending my time messaging people about that, okay? When are the new videos coming out? Hopefully soon, man. Working on getting some content going. It's been a nice holiday break. I have no interest in making YouTube videos during my holiday break, so hopefully get back into it here starting 2026. Yeah, for sure. I got a cool idea for the 2025 recap, so I'm going to try to work on that. It might take some time because I really want to make it a good one. But I do have a really good idea. I think you guys will like it. But yeah, look at this ES. Okay. Last thing before we jump off. What level did we say was in focus today? 69.13. There you go. There's your in focus level of the day. How's the golf game? I shot a 94 the last time I went out. I'd really like to get an 89. That's my goal this year. Get me 5 strokes off this number. I absolutely can do it. I mean, I have so many stupid holes, man. So many like 100 out that I just shank. Not shank. I actually just I don't shank any shots. It's funny. Like shanks are no longer in my game. The biggest thing in my game is hitting it fat. Right? I hit so many fat, so I'll hit like try to get like a 52 from 100 yards out onto the green, and I'll just hit it like 40 yards, and I'll hit it so fat, and I'll just chunk the hell out of it. That's my biggest weakness right now. That's my biggest weakness in my game. So that's what I really need to work on. But that's for another day. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the trading day. Good luck out there. Remember the gap fill. Remember our levels. Press that like button before you head out. If you want to stay tuned for more videos that I'm going to be posting this year. And, of course, the live streams on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Peace and love.